Well, here we go. And one that I'm sure Cooper Mays, one of our podcasts, he's not as excited about. And I understand that. Post South Carolina. And Cooper, I just want to start out with saying, you guys, regardless of what happened on Saturday night, have had a heck of a season, and you'll continue to do so with Vanderbilt and the bowl game left. And I'll just ask you, as somebody I've gotten to know more than just somebody I covered, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Can't really complain too much. Life's good. You know, we're doing good compared to a lot of people for sure.
No, when you kind of put it in perspective, you're right. I think that losing a football game is one thing. There are a lot of other people with serious issues, but I do want to ask you as far as just the team chemistry and you guys right now. How sure are you that you guys will bounce back, because that was a devastating loss?
Yeah, for sure. I'm confident in our team. There's no doubt. And after Georgia and after this one that we've got to bounce back and we've got to be better. So there's there's no other choice to make. We gotta pick yourselves back up, and you gotta be better the next week than you were the week before.
Can I steal one of your lines for just a second?
For sure. Which one?
They're on scholarship too. Um, we
Yeah.
could come up with all these conspiracy theories, but at the end of the day, they are on scholarship, and they played really, really well. How different were they on Saturday as opposed to the tape that you saw of South Carolina previously?
They played really well. I can't sit here and act like it was all on us. Whatever they played really well. Credit to them. They made a lot of plays. That probably we hadn't seen on film. Maybe they played a really good game. Probably gave us their best shot, and you know that was obviously more than enough to beat us. So credit to them.
Yep. Throughout the game, was the crowd at all a factor? They were fired up. Did that have any effect whatsoever?
I could sit here. I wish I could sit here and say that it was the crowd that really messed us up. I feel like versus Georgia, the crowd was definitely an issue, but I can't really sit here and use that as an excuse or whatever you want to call it, or reason. They just they outplayed us, and that's basically the end of the story. The crowd was loud. It was a good environment. It was a great environment. Not taking anything away from it, but it came down to them outplaying us for sure.
Do you realize over the course of this season that you guys have changed Tennessee from the team that gives everybody their best shot to now teams want to give you their best shot? How different is that?
It's different. I can see the difference in it. They're rushing the field and everything. I don't think anybody's rushed the field since they've beaten us in a long time. So they gave us their best shot. We fought to put ourselves in this position. So this is what we asked for, and we gotta run with it and be better in these situations, because putting Tennessee back on top, that's what comes with it. So that was our goal, is putting Tennessee back on top. I feel like we're getting back to that point, and you got to be ready for the big time moments and the big time games on the road for sure.
How much is that just a part of that learning curve, going from a program that's getting by to a program that's competing for championships?
It's different. We've been working on it all year, as getting to the point where we expect to win, and even that we expect to win, I feel like most of our games we were the underdog up until recently. So kind of just getting to that point where Tennessee's back on top in college football. It's been a long road kind of getting back here, but it's going to be a longer road kind of staying here. So we got to kind of do everything it takes to be that program that stays here and is where it's supposed to be.
This is incredibly hard to probably put in your mind space right now, but let me throw this at you. If I would have told you before the season that you were going to be 9-2 with wins over Florida and Alabama heading into the Vanderbilt game, what would you have said?
I wouldn't have been crazy surprised, but I definitely would have been I would have been happy about it. Like I can't sit here and say that as a Tennessee boy, I've seen the the tough times and everything where you don't win any of the big three. You know what I'm saying? So coming in here and winning two out of the big three this year, that's a huge accomplishment. And, it speaks to how Coach Heupel has led us this year and kind of how much effort he's put and the whole staff has put into kind of trying to get us back on top.
As far as Vanderbilt, I know that you've seen them a little bit. What are your thoughts? Because man, I think we're all stunned when they beat Kentucky and now they beat Florida. What do you think of Vanderbilt at this point?
I think that they're gonna come out here and they're gonna believe that they're gonna win. So we got to do everything in our power to stop that from happening. They've back to back weeks, back to back SEC wins. I don't know when the last time they've done that is, and did one of them on the road up there in Kentucky and then beat Florida at home. That's a big time accomplishment. It doesn't matter what program you are. So, you know, I'm sure they're going to be riding high. So we got to match that or exceed it for sure.
I saw your body language when Hendon went down, and it seemed like you knew pretty quickly that it was significant. Can you kind of take me through that moment, being the leader that he is?
Yeah, I was just blocking and kind of heard the crowd go kind of crazy behind me, and I turned around. I saw Hendon go down. Kind of. I caught the tail end of him falling down, and then the ball coming out. And it was, in football, you're obviously going to chase the ball. That's what you're taught to do. But for some reason, I didn't even really care about the ball. I think I cared about the ball. If you watch it back, I cared about the ball for like one step, and then the next step I was going right to Hendon, even though they were running off with it. So I kind of knew when he went down that it was something serious, and just kind of hearing him, scream and all that stuff. You kind of see it on the film. It was pretty devastating. I can't sit here and act like it wasn't. I'm a guy that cares deeply about all the guys that I play around, and I work hard for all these guys, and seeing somebody go down like that, if you're not moved and kind of just upset to your core, then I don't really know what to say, but it hurt pretty bad.
Yeah, I could tell that you took a knee at one point, and then you were there for a moment, and then I could tell with the way you turned, you knew it was serious at that point, right?
I was kind of just thinking, I was kind of just putting myself in his shoes, and I saw him go down, and I love him, and so I wanted to be kind of by his side, that if I could comfort him at all. But that I knew kind of there was nothing I could do, and that probably the best thing I could do is just kind of get away and let the training staff handle it. So I know how that is. It was a rough time for everybody, I think.
Well, and the way sports work is it is the next man up. So first of all, we give all our thoughts and prayers to Hendon and his family, and certainly I think he's going to be an incredible success in life, whether it's football, coaching football, whatever he does. He's going to be an incredible success, and this is a setback, but it's only that, a setback. You turn to Joe Milton, and moving forward, what do fans need to know about Joe Milton as opposed to, let's say, Joe Milton a year ago?
I think they've gotten a pretty good taste. I mean, I think we've all if you watch the games, you kind of seen a little bit of what Joe's about this year. I think he's grown a lot from year one to year two and just matured a lot. And I think it kind of shows in the way he's playing. He looks a lot more settled down and all that. So I think even coming in this game, it's easy to come in when you have the lead and a firm lead like we usually have when he comes in. But he came in a bad spot, and I think he did really well. Put it together quite a few good drives. So I mean, I can't really say much. I think he's put it on film. I think everybody that's watched can see the difference in Joe from year one to year two.
There was a rumor floating around that he could throw the ball 100 yards in the air. Now, this was during SEC media days. Are you buying that? Because that's a long ways.
Man, I don't know. I don't know about 100, but I can. firmly say that he can throw it more than 80 yards. Firmly, like would not question it. Like would put at least $1,000 on it right now.
Wow.
I mean, y'all see it. I mean, he's thrown a couple balls over probably 65 yards this year, and he hasn't like crow hopped into it. Like, I mean, I saw him throw one off his back foot like 60 with pressure in his face. So I mean, think about like in the Pro Bowl scenarios where they used to do the long toss. I don't really know if they do it anymore, but I
Yeah,
guarantee
it used to be awesome. That used to be awesome.
yeah, guarantee you he could throw it 80 yards. Guarantee.
Yeah. I remember Brett Favre and Randall Cunningham had a showdown in one of those things.
Yeah, how far did they throw it?
I think one threw it 72 and the other threw it 75 or 78 and one.
Yeah,
So
well, Joe's throwing about 80. I can't I can't sit here and give you an exact number, but I would put a lot of money on 80 plus.
what about him as a leader?
Yeah, like I said, he's made a huge jump from year one to year two and maturity. And I think, like I said, it shows on the field, but it all from work you put in the off season, the way you develop yourself, your mind. And I think he's grown overall as a person just a lot, like a ton, having something like that happen to you where you go from being the guy for a few games and then now you're down to number two and you got to kind of just say, okay, you can either crawl into a hole and get upset about it, or you can rise up and just figure out what you can do to be the best you possible. And I think Joe kind of took it upon himself, maybe every day, really, just to be better. I'm sure there were hard days in there, but as overall, Joe has improved a ton.
How can the other 10 guys that are on the field help him be successful?
Just lift him up. You know what I'm saying? It's the biggest thing is we've got to protect him. So that starts with us up front, the starting five, O line, and then we're tight ends, your running backs, wide receivers get open quick. That'll alleviate a lot of stress on him getting hit. So just protecting him, making him feel, just knowing that we have his back. I think Joe's more than capable of doing whatever you want him to do on the football field. So just lift him up and make him feel comfortable and safe in the pocket.
When you look back over the run you guys had, and you not going to make the college football playoff now, but at what point did you feel most confident that you guys were one of those teams before the slip up at South Carolina?
At the probably after the Alabama game. I think Alabama was the first big test of our season. Obviously, if you look back, people say like LSU was our biggest win, and that's a big test, on the road with LSU. But LSU probably wasn't, the same exact team that we played that day. So earlier in the season, LSU wasn't as big of a win. I think Alabama was our first huge test. Playing, they were top three at that moment, I guess. I don't know what we were, but that was when I kind of looked up and was like, okay, we got something really special cooking here.
And indeed, you do. When you look at Vanderbilt going forward, how important is it to quote finish the drill? I mean, how important is it to you guys as a team to be able to finish the season off in a positive way? Because you've done so many great things.
Right. I think it all boils down to the person. If you ask me, I think it means everything. I'm a local guy, and I know what this rivalry means, especially on a year like this where we've done some pretty special things. How special it is to finish it out right. So to me, it means we're gonna find out what people are made of. You know what I'm saying? It takes a special person to finish out the season strong and finish out whatever they're doing strong if things don't go their way. It means everything to me. I'm sure it means everything to the guys, in the locker room. It's a big game. The biggest game of the season is now. Here we are. It's the next game.
Well, that's true. And it's an opportunity to put a double-digit win on the board. I mean, that's just incredible. Do you go to players and remind them, being a local guy, being a leader, I know you're not a really vocal leader, but do you say things to them like, "Hey, we can still accomplish a lot here"? Is that part of your role at all this week?
I haven't really had to say anything like that. I mean, if I have to say that to you, then I probably, won't even waste my breath saying it. So that's really how I feel about it. So if you don't, take your job serious, the circumstances, then I don't want you around.
Yep. No, I can understand that. So, as far as um, when you visited with Hendon Hooker since afterwards, what do you tell him? Do you share those sentimental moments, or as football players, do you just say, "Hey, man, how's it going?" How does that interaction go in the days after the injury?
It's nothing sensational, Immediately after the game, I saw him in the locker room. I gave him a big hug and told him that I loved him and everything. But, other than that, it's just, what's up? How are you doing? I know you're messed. How are you? Mentally and everything. So that's really all it is. We're just human beings at the end of the day. So it's just, just trying to person and everything.
So as far as you, and again, another game to go, but as far as you and your health, how are you feeling? Because you play a pretty darn tough position. You've been pretty healthy this year. How are you feeling?
Everybody's probably a little bit beat up and, bruised and a little bit sore at the end of the season, but I really can't complain. I've had a really, pretty healthy year up to this point. So just trying to finish it out the right way, and hopefully, the Lord bless me with a couple more healthy weeks, and you know, that's that.
You always,
Blessed though.
I'm sorry.
I said blessed though for sure. Had a healthy year so far.
You always tweet that out after games. Just a thanks for your blessings. Has that kind of become a tradition for you?
It has this year. I haven't done it in a year other than this one, but I think it was one thing that I wanted to stay consistent on. It's really probably pretty easy to post that stuff like that when you're 7-0 or 8-0 or whatever it was that we were, but probably more important than anything than to be consistent on the weeks that you don't. So just trying to stay consistent. I think he deserves that. I asked him to protect me and everything before the game, so I feel like he should get the glory at the end of it.
Yeah. Well put. Coop, I appreciate it. I know that was a tough loss against South Carolina. Again, I think I'm going to tell you the same thing I told Jacob. 10 years from now, you're going to look back on the season and say, "Man, we did a lot." And but you got one game left, two if you count the bowl game. And kudos to you. Sorry for the heartbreaking loss, and we'll talk to you soon after a win. How about that?
No doubt. Let's do
All
it.
right. He's Cooper Mays. I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.